Morning guys, what's up? Welcome to the newly branded philosophy. Wordy. So this episode is just me kind of chatting and going over a few things that are happening in my personal life, how my fire outlook has changed, how my plans have changed with the whole COVID-19 and switching to a lower paying job, which was going to be sort of my long-term goal until I hit that retirement age. I decided to rebrand because I felt that philosophy just had a better ring to it. I haven't made a video in a while, and that's because I have been extremely busy with work. I work in an office setting now, although I am working remote at the moment because of COVID and the current restrictions in Alberta. Going back to an office environment and working, your regular 9 to 5, 8-hour days has really limited me in doing the things that I actually want to do. And that really kind of sucks because the point for me transitioning from a sales role going into something that paid a little bit less is that I would be a lot less stressed out and I would have maybe a little bit more time and focus to spend on the things I wanted to spend my time on. After being in this role for about 4 months now, I'm kind of realizing that maybe the grass is always greener on the other side because I am way more stressed than I ever was in sales, and I am now making quite a bit less. And it's really kind of thrown me through a loop about what my values are and what I really should be looking for when it comes to work while I'm going to be working. It's definitely opened my eyes going through this and realizing that the whole idea of going to less stressful work, maybe something that pays a bit less, it isn't always going to be worth that transition. And sometimes I think you actually have to do it to realize that. And in my case, that's what happened to me. I really thought that transitioning to a job that was lower paying, that had less responsibilities outside of work, with sales, you were kind of like on call always. However, with sales, you do have a lot of flexibility in your schedule and you kind of get to be your own boss in a way. Another big step for me is I just bought a condominium. I know, adulting 101 right here. I've been looking at property or purchasing property for probably the last 3 years. I have been saving up a down payment to buy a detached home, and that is what I looked for originally when I started looking back in August. And after going through a lot of the homes that I was really interested in online, I started to realize that if I wanted to afford a detached home in an area that I really wanted to be in long term, that I would need to save up for quite a bit longer to get there, or pretty much deplete my entire savings account, which I really did not want to do. The reason that I went for a condo is because in the future, if I do want to move into a detached home and experience that, I will be renting out that condominium. So it does act as a second stream of income sort of at a certain point once it's paid off and everything. So it kind of opens the door for a little bit more flexibility in the future. Moving abroad has also been something that I really want to do. COVID-19 has really put the brakes on that for me, and I'm looking forward to doing that sometime in the future. And buying a condominium allows me to rent that out quite easily when I will be moving. And I know you can do the same with a detached house. I just think there's a lot more involved with that. With a condo, it's sort of like an apartment where you're responsible for the tenant and everything, but the building and the condo board maintains the structure and all the common areas, so you don't have as much to worry about when it comes to renting it out to someone. So something that I think a lot of us have been dealing with since COVID-19 and all this stuff's been going on is realizing what is actually important to you. What's actually important in your life, the people that matter, the things that you really want to spend time doing, and maybe the things in your life that you could afford or you should be saving towards to increase your happiness and comfortability at home or out in the world. Before going into this whole pandemic thing, I definitely was a little stingy on purchases. I always kind of had it in my mind that while I was renting a place, that I was never going to invest in nice things, never going to invest in nice furniture, nice clothing, or any kind of little fixtures here and there. I would always just kind of cheap out because it wasn't long-term for me. It was never a long-term situation. Now that I'm moving into purchasing property, things have changed. So I have spent quite a bit of money over the last few months getting ready for the transition to move into my new condo. I've been purchasing some nicer quality furniture, and also a few pieces of clothing and things that are really investments because I want them to last a long time. I do buy a lot of my clothing, furniture, and things secondhand. However, over the last few months, I haven't really been able to find the things that I really want. So I put aside a budget that I've been saving into for the last few years to kind of furnish a home, because right now I live in a one-bedroom apartment, so I don't have a ton of furniture. That is definitely something that has changed for me since the pandemic hit and has changed the way that I see fire in the long term. I have figured out by doing the math, and one of the tools that I use the most frequently is the retirement calculator on networthify.com. And I just plug in what I save every year, how much I make and spend, and it gives me a rough idea of when I can retire. So my retirement goal is still going to be 50. I still would like to retire to whatever I want to do at that age. So definitely spending money. I have spent more money this year than I ever have in my life, which obviously includes purchasing property. But not only that, I have kind of shifted to a more consumerist mentality, not in the sense of buying things that I don't need or don't want or I'm never going to use, but researching the things that I want, writing a list of the items that I would like, that I need to replace something that broke or whatever, and keeping that list for a while before actually purchasing that item. Because there is this kind of like weird stigma in the fire community that spending money on material items maybe is bad. And I just don't think that that is right. That is something that I think I've shifted from when I used to be super into reading the subreddits on Reddit about fire, like Lean Fire, just the regular financial independence, and FI Can, which is the Canadian version. When I was really getting into it, I spent no money on anything. I never put money into buying new clothing or basics like going out with friends. I would say I didn't want to go out because I didn't want to spend like $20, $30, which looking back, I regret. I regret doing that. I think it was stupid that I jeopardized relationships with people because I didn't want to go out and have a beer because it cost money. I'm completely different now, 180-degree turn for me on this, because now, especially because we're stuck inside all the time, if there is an opportunity for me to meet a friend in a park or go for a walk, which is all free anyway, but before the restrictions were in place, when you were allowed to go to a bar with a friend or with friends and have some drinks, I would now absolutely spend the money on that and not even think about it twice. One of the biggest things for me in my fire journey is the ability to travel. And I have put aside quite a decent amount of money every year so that I can go on really nice trips. And that is something that has kind of been taken away over the last few months. I have still been able to travel like within Canada, like within Alberta, but not being able to travel overseas or move abroad. I was planning to move to New Zealand in April next year, April 2021. And with all of this, it doesn't seem like that's really going to happen for a few years. Hopefully it's sooner than that, but it has definitely shifted how I experience life. I was always the person who thought that travel was everything. I always was saving up for the next trip, always planning the next trip, always kind of getting to a point where I would be going somewhere and doing something, and not putting enough interest in exploring my own area. And being in a pandemic and being kind of stuck where you are has let me experience my city and my province and area the way that a traveler might. So I've made a point to experience some of the attractions in the city that I haven't seen yet, or things that I haven't done in the city since I moved here almost 7 years ago now. And it's actually really opened my eyes, because I always wanted to just leave. I wanted to go, next trip, let's do it, let's plan it, let's get out of here. And now it's more like, hey, maybe we should just go to Banff for the weekend. Maybe we'll go to Canmore. There's so many things that are so close to where I live that are attractions from global travelers will come here to see Banff and Canmore. And some people, I guess, come to Calgary as well, especially for the Stampede. There are so many things in my city that are incredible things in the world. And I want to put more emphasis in taking the time to travel locally, putting money into our economy in Alberta is something that's very important to me now as well. Another thing that I think has changed for me on the fire path is I've increased my spending when it comes to spending locally and donating locally as well. Getting a coffee at a local small shop instead of going to like Tim Hortons or McDonald's. I think there's a few like small things you can do to really help support your local economy. The whole fire movement, I was super obsessed with when I first got into it. As I'm sure you guys probably know, I have mentioned this in other videos. And I got so sucked into it that I just neglected like everything else in my life. I was super focused on work, making more money, getting to the next point, getting to the next milestone, whatever, hitting a certain number. And I've really stepped that back. I don't go on Reddit at all anymore, maybe like once a month, but it's all the same. It's the same conversation like over and over again. The thing about fire is once you're set up and you have like a certain amount that you save every year and you're on track to meet your goals, it really should be in the back of your mind. It shouldn't be something that you're constantly researching and constantly thinking about. I think most people will go through that phase, but just something to think about is you can't neglect everything else in your life to hit some magical number in the future. You just have to set it and forget it. That's one of the biggest things with fire for me is I'm at a point now where I have a decent cushion. I've bought some property and everything has been invested the way that I want it to be invested. And now I can just sort of put money into those investments every month. Keep an eye on it, make sure I'm still on track, every once in a while, but not obsess over getting the most I can out of every single dollar. I am so much less stressed when it comes to money now because I have that cushion. And that is 100% thanks to my diligence in the past of saving everything that I could. And now I want to sort of reap the benefits of that and relax a little bit, spend a little bit more, and sort of live the life that I actually want. And I have realized that the life I want doesn't include me not spending money on anything. Sometimes I want to buy things, and that is normal. Another topic I wanted to discuss in regards to fire is working from home versus working in an office. And I don't know if a lot of people experience this, but I actually prefer working in an office setting because I feel like that social interaction for me is one of the biggest things about work. And it sort of lets me peek into what retirement might be like. I know that working from home is not the same as being retired, of course, but being retired and being kind of away from people has made me realize that I really do value the relationships I have with the people that I work with. And I want to keep that going even after I'm retired. I think maybe the lesson for me here is that just keeping like a really good social circle and being active in keeping in touch with like family and friends has been a huge focus. I don't know, for me, working from home isn't all it's cracked up to be. I like having the option. If I have the option to work from home, I feel like a lot less stressed if I don't feel well a certain morning or I just don't feel like getting out of bed that day. Being able to like work from bed, work in your pajamas is a big plus. I just really think that working from home and not seeing people is affecting me negatively. Like I'm sure it is a lot of you. And I don't know, I just get a glimpse of this retirement where I'm retired before everyone I know, and it'll just be similar to the kind of feelings I have working from home now. I'm alone most of the day. Because of the new restrictions in place, I'm not going to be seeing friends for a while. I'll hopefully be able to see a few friends like outside where we can distance and just kind of have a chat and a walk around. But I'm just thinking about in retirement being one of the only people retired and not really having anyone to experience that with. That's one of the biggest reasons why I think when I get to my fire number, I'm not going to stop working. I'm going to be doing something different, but it'll just be something that I want to do. And that's kind of like my goal now, which I'm sure it is for a lot of people as well. I just want to get to a point where it's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go work in this seasonal plant shop for like 3 months because it's summer and it's their busy time. And I don't have to worry about not being able to afford anything. So whatever that job pays doesn't matter. It's more like getting to know people and being in the community and doing something that's kind of important, or whatever you want to call it. The Humane Society has always been a place that I've really wanted to work at. So just to wrap this up, guys, I just wanted to say hey to everybody and let you know that I'm thinking about every single person that watches these videos. I really, really appreciate your support. So I hope you guys are having an awesome day and that you're staying healthy and your family is doing well. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.